concluding video for the vlog of the Lutheran Musicians Conference. So I am now safely ensconced in a dormitory at the University of Oregon in Eugene, where I'm staying with Dan, and he's singing in the Oregon Bach Festival. Gonna go to hear him sing tonight, and just wanted to give a report on the final talk at the conference yesterday, which was given by Professor Samuel Torvund, who teaches the history of Christianity at Pacific Lutheran University. His talk was amazing, and he got into basically how countercultural Christ was, and the early Christians were completely treasonous, I guess, to Rome and the emperor, and how radical the ideas that Jesus put forth were. I've sent an email and asked Professor Torvund for a copy of his talk. I don't know if he'll be willing to give me one, but if he does, then I'm going to pass it along, because I think it's really worth reading. Because he points out that every time that the early Christians met, they met in houses over meals, they sang. So, of course, this being a music conference, he would mention that, but that's communal song was part of the Christian experience from the very beginning. And that they met in houses over meals, and this whole idea of liturgy of the word and the sermon was something that came much, much later, and I think he sort of inferred that maybe that wasn't the best idea, but we'll leave that up to anyone's discretion. But hopefully he'll be able to send me one, because it was a great talk. And he also got into class, and once the early Christians moved into the first century or so, the meetings got larger, and they began to be places where people took care of one another, where they fed people who didn't have enough food, and as well as met for worship. So it was a sort of a 2-for-1 there. It was like the homeless dinner and the Eucharist all combined together. And so his point, I think, basically was that the Eucharist is not some personal moment with Jesus, but rather, in the historical sense, it is a sharing of the agape meal, the love feast, and the sharing of the love. So it's not just receiving communion during the liturgy, but this attitude of love and mercy in the community at large. So, and everybody has some awareness of that, I think, but he really put it in high relief. And it kind of makes you stop and think about, like, what are we really doing here, and why are we doing it? So, hopefully I can get a copy of that text. And that was then there was a Eucharist after that, which after that talk, it seemed so. It wasn't just the talk, but I actually left because it was just so pedestrian and middle of the road. There was nothing extraordinary about it, except that Larry Long played the entire wedge, prelude, and fugue, and everybody down for the prelude, and everybody downstairs talked all the way through it, and that was the beginning of the way the service just kind of went after that. It was like nobody got what was being conveyed there, I guess. And so I felt like it was lukewarm, you know. So I left. And once I got outside, I realized I needed a little time to myself to just think about the things that had been brought up in this talk. All right, so that's enough out of me. I will see you all back at the ranch.